Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back. Happy Friday, and today is corrected Friday. So Bitcoin obviously came down to about 114,750, I think it was, at the bottom. Kind of talked about this yesterday, that Bitcoin possibly could come down to these levels if it doesn't hold 116,000. Sure enough, it came down to here. I wish it would have went down a little bit more, filled that CME futures gap, which was at like 114,200, something like that. So I would have liked to have seen that, but we didn't get that, but we did get a little bit of correction here. We had a lot of, obviously, sell pressure here from Bitcoins that were from the Satoshi era, going back to like 2014 being sold. We'll talk about that. I think that's done and over with here for at least the time being, potentially. And I think Bitcoin is going to be going up here from this point on, potentially. We might come down a little bit more, but we'll see. What else do we have here? Short data on the miners. We'll talk about that. MicroStrategy upsizes their offering to $2.5 billion. BitDigital is going to be increasing the number of shares available to them to buy more Ethereum as well. We'll talk about that. And we have a bunch of good news stories on Bitcoin as well. We'll get through all that, get into Q&A as always, and we'll get into everything else at that point. So I'm doing this a little early because I want to go outside, enjoy the night. I'm probably going to have a little fire going outside and just take it easy. Have a nice adult beverage at that point and have fun for the weekend here. So let's get into it. As always, not financial advice for everyone only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And let's get into what's going on here with Bitcoin really quick. Miners as well, they didn't do too well today. Obviously, Bitcoin coming down, that didn't help out. So here's what we got. Bitcoin had a nice wick today. It went way down, kind of like I said, it might go down. And sure enough, we went down to 114,750. That was the low on today. We closed at 117,633, so we bounced back up. We also had a bunch of options expiries as well for Bitcoin here. There was a lot of liquidation in the market today as well. It's Friday. It's going to happen from time to time on Fridays. But we bounced back up nicely here. We're back up to where, we were well, this is kind of our support here, more or less. You can see that 117,000 is more or less, I think, a support here over a period of time of, 2-3 weeks or something like that. So that's looking pretty good there right now. Bitcoin also, why is my RSI not working properly? Let's refresh this, see if we can get that fixed. See if that's going to work. There we go. There's my RSI. Okay. Let's go back to Bitcoin here. RSI on the daily is still looking really good now. It's been coming down here. Price, as we talked about yesterday, has been more or less flat, but the RSI has been coming down. I like that setup here. Like I said, Bitcoin futures, we have this gap here that is right there, $114,315, right? So we were, like $400 away from that getting filled here. We were so close on that. We got to the upper range of the gap here and bounced off of that. So again, we might come down here, test that, and before we go back up here, or we could just continue to go back up as well on it. That's kind of at least what I'm seeing here. The markets, on the other hand, were up today. Bitcoin was down. Ethereum was down as well today because of, it was down much further, but it actually turned in the green here. I just haven't checked this in a couple hours. But so that's looking good there. It was still up 0.46% on the day. Miners, for the most part, were all in the red. Bitfarms was flat, actually, 0% there. BitDeer was down 3.43%. Kango was down 3.68%. Cypher was down 2.71%. Cleanspark was down 4.21%. CORZ, the only one that actually stayed in the green here, 0.51%. Hive was down 3.4%. Hut was down 3.6%. IREN was down 2.3% as well. Mara was down just a little bit here. It was down much more before it bounced back up. It was down 0.06%. Riot was down 1% roughly. Wolf was down 2.82%. And that's going to happen. Bitcoin being down as much as it was during the day, things are going to definitely go down. MicroStrategy was also down 2.18%. Galaxy was down 3.68% on the day. It's the first red day it's had here in probably, 7-8 days of trading, roughly. So it's having a little bit of a correction there. Coin was down 1.27% here. Metaplanet was down 3.59%. That one's kind of flattening out here a little bit over time here the last couple of days. Exodus was down 1.7%, 6%. Similar was down 2% here. Who else do we have here? The blockchain group was down a lot, 9.62%. Wow, that one's continuing to slide down here. GME was down just a little bit here. Small miners were down for the most part. Any was down 4%. Argo was down 10%. DigiPower was up just a little bit, 1.91%. DMG was down 2.8%. Mawson down barely, 0.02%. Can was down 5%. Bitcoin ETFs, Bitcoin miner ETFs, were down also 1.75%, 2.18%, 1.82%, 2% there on that one. The Ethereum holding companies were all down as well today. BitDigital was down 2.48%. That one bounced off the 200 simple day moving average there. BTCS was down 5.68%. BMNR was down 4.67%. It's also like, I mean, it's bouncing right off. It seems like it's maybe created a bottom here, maybe around $40. We see that getting hit quite a bit here, and it's holding on to it. So we'll see if that's the bottom for that one, or strong support there. Game was down 11% here today. That one continued to come down as well. That one's not looking good. SBET was down also 5.7% on the day. And Bitcoin dominance here for today was actually down quite a bit. It was down, actually. We're at 61.41% right now, and it's holding right now as it is. Miners, I haven't checked into the miners for what they're doing after hours because, well, we have no trading over the weekend here. We'll get into that on Sunday show probably. We'll take a look at them. We'll see where they are at. Bitcoin for the month of July here still up 9.71%, which is looking good. Bitcoin ETF inflows here for yesterday. We had actually a positive day after 3 days of actual losses there. So we were up 226 million there. IBIT bought quite a low amount here, 32.5 million here, compared to what they have been buying here in the past, like $500 million, $750 million. This seems very, very low. And then today we are up still 27.8 million. We'll see where IBIT comes in at, along with Fidelity, if we get those. So we'll cover that on Sunday's show. Now, the good news stories here on Bitcoin here. First one is U.S. money supply just hit, or U.S. M2 money supply just hit an all-time high at 22 trillion. Will Bitcoin follow? Yeah, I believe Bitcoin is going to follow going forward here. It has been. If you look at the offset of about 100 some odd days, Bitcoin does follow it pretty closely here. Next here, we got Japan's 116-year-old Kitaba company is now buying Bitcoin. Every company will follow. I agree. You got to get some Bitcoin on your balance sheet there. It's a hedge against, I guess, devaluation of the currency that you are a part of at that point. So I think that will happen there. And then public companies now hold nearly 900,000 Bitcoin, up 35% in just 1 quarter. Corporate Bitcoin adoption is here. And that's kind of why I've been saying for the last, gosh, I don't know how long, that this cycle is completely going to be different. The 4-year cycle is going to be dead. And this is the reason, one of the main reasons why that we are seeing this here, right? So Bitcoin accumulated by public companies holding 1,000 plus BTC. You can see the number there. It's a huge increase here just from the end of Q4 in 2024. So beginning of this year, I mean, we're basically up 50% on that as it is. They were at 600,000 roughly. Now they're at 900,000, right? 50% gains in the month they hodl here, just in the first half of the year, basically. That is huge. Next here, Galaxy Digital announced it's executed one of the largest notational Bitcoin transactions in history, selling over 80,000 Bitcoin worth more than $9 billion. This is why the market was down, obviously. But Galaxy completed the sale of more than 80,000 Bitcoin valued at over $9 billion based on current market prices for a Satoshi-era investor, representing one of the earliest and most significant exits from the digital asset market. The transaction was part of an investor's broader estate planning strategy. Okay, so that's what happened. So maybe somebody died or something like that, and they had to sell it off. I mean, they could have just divided up the Bitcoins and given out to family members or something like that. Don't know what the deal was with with it, but it wasn't Galaxy selling. It was Galaxy selling it on somebody's behalf. So they probably sold a large portion on exchanges and another portion on OTC desks as well. So, I mean, that's 80,000 Bitcoin. That's a lot, right? Saylor with this 2.5 billion, we're going to talk about that here next, could definitely buy, about 25,000, roughly, 25,000 Bitcoin here. So he's going to gobble up quickly here, which we have here next. So Strategy announces pricing of its Stretch Perpetual Preferred Stock, offering upsizes the deal from 500 million to 2.521 billion. That is huge, huge interest in this. So obviously way oversubscribed on this. People are going to be buying this up like crazy. And we saw that going from 500 million to 2.5, a 5x in that alone. So that's going to be huge there. Next week, whenever this happens, or the following week, we're definitely going to see Strategy buying more Bitcoin here. They're going to be stacking sats as fast as they can. And they have been doing this. So we'll love seeing this. This is going to be great. Next year, as far as the 4-year cycle here, this coincides with the story that I have also here. This is Ki Young Zhu, I think. He is a crypto quant there, analyst. He was predicting that we would bottom out, or the top was going to be around 80,000 here a couple weeks back, or a couple months back actually. And now he's actually realizing that the cycle, 4-year cycle, is pretty much dead here, right? So Bitcoin cycle theory is dead. My prediction were based on it. Buy when whales accumulate, sell when retail joins, but that pattern is no longer holds. Yeah, I've been saying that for probably, 6 months to a year now, that this has definitely turned into a way different cycle. Last cycle's whales sold to retail. This time, old whales sell to new long-term whales, aka institutions, companies, things like that, right? Institutional adoption is bigger than we thought. Trading feels pointless. Holders now outnumber traders. My mistake was ignoring this shift in my bull cycle. The bull cycle is over call. I sincerely apologize if my prediction impacted your investment. I'll be more careful with forecasts and focus on providing data-driven insights. Right? So that's nice. We're seeing people come around, and people that were thinking that we're going to have a regular 4-year cycle are coming around to the fact that this is way, way different already than what we have seen in the past year. And it's going to be an extended cycle as well. So that bodes well here. So here's a story about this as well. Bitcoin's 4-year cycle loses grip as maturing market reshapes dynamics. I completely agree with this wholeheartedly here. In July 25 post, this is on X, Hogan pointed out that the maturing nature of the crypto market coupled with rising institutional involvement is weakening the forces that historically shape Bitcoin's cyclical behavior. I agree. We saw that already when, even pre-halving last year, when Bitcoin reached 73,000, which was a new all-time high before the halving event happened. So we already saw that kind of playing out there. That was the first catalyst that started making me think this is going to be a different cycle. Let's see here. Why Bitcoin's 4-year cycle is dead. He also noted that the broader macro environment has also shifted. Interest rates no longer exert the same downward pressure on crypto markets as they did in previous cycles. I agree. And according to Hogan, the crypto landscape is evolving longer and more strategically now as it flows into spot Bitcoin ETFs, which began in earnest in 2024, are expected to continue over the next decade. Meanwhile, traditional finance institutions, from pension funds to national account platforms, are only just beginning to offer crypto access to their clients. Additionally, legislative support such as the recent passage of the Genius Act is further accelerating Wall Street's entry into the space, setting the stage for sustained capital inflows. That's what I've been saying and preaching for the past 6 months to a year. Obsolete, right? So, and this is also going back to the crypto quant there, CEO Ki Young-ju. In April, Ju warned that Bitcoin's rally had peaked to nearly 80,000, yet the asset continued to ascend, eventually surpassing 123,000 this month. Reflecting on this miss, Ju stated that the traditional accumulation and distribution dynamics where whales sell into retail demand no longer holds. Instead, institutional investors and corporate treasuries are emerging as dominant buyers, reshaping the market behavior and reducing speculative churn. Correct, right? We saw that happening. We had the ETFs. I think the ETFs had the biggest play here. The ETFs before the halving cycle, right, drove Bitcoin up to 73,000. We already saw that kind of in action. Considering this, Hogan suggested that the market is moving away from boom-bust cycles toward more consistent long-term growth. I've been saying that for however long, right? So I do believe that the cycle, 4-year cycle, is dead. We are entering into an extended cycle with Bitcoin and potentially with the miners as well. This is going to be really, really good for the miners, I think. Especially if Bitcoin stays up elevated in these levels, and as long as the network hash rate doesn't go up too crazily, outpacing the percentage gains in Bitcoin price, the miners should have profitable quarters for an extended period of time. Historically, they were profitable for maybe 3-4 quarters max. I would say maybe even 2 to 4 quarters max at that point, some of these guys. So this is going to be really good for them. It should hopefully also reduce the amount of dilution that we're seeing here if they do things correctly. Meaning, if they sell part of their Bitcoin, they can hodl part of the Bitcoin as well. But if they use that to keep their costs down, they can fund future growth from just their operations as well. So we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. But this looks really good, at least right now, for me. Next here is Digital here. They provided a Schedule 14A 101, or Schedule 14A basically. This is a proxy statement. Basically, they are trying to increase the number of shares that they have right now from 300 some odd million to 1 billion number of shares available to them for use. The general use is going to be to buy more Ethereum for them. So the number of shares outstanding is going to be increasing quite a bit here, right? We're all worried about these miners that are at 300 some odd million, 200 some odd million, and Bitfarms being at 550 million here, that they have too many shares. They're going to have to do a reverse split. Not necessarily, right? I've been saying that also for quite a while, that they can continue to go up as long as they are providing accretive growth to their shareholders there. So number of shares doesn't really matter. I mean, look at Meta, look at Google, look at Apple, look at some other of these guys. They have billions of shares out there, right? And the stocks are doing what they're doing anyways. So it doesn't really matter on that. It just depends on what the company's actually providing to the shareholders and what they're doing. So that's going to be happening. There's supposed to be a vote on this. So this is going to be, I'm not sure when this is going to be voted on, but you can definitely read it over. So definitely BitDigital is going to be stacking a heck of a lot more. They're not out of the game yet. They are trying to be the top dog here for Ethereum Treasury here. All right. Wish them all the best there. Wish they do well. And it's nice that they have actually clarity here in the business now, right? They are getting rid of the Bitcoin mining side of the business. They're going to be just a Ethereum Treasury company for BitDigital. They're off. Gosh, what am I? They're not shedding, but they're moving the white fiber, the HPC business data center business into its own thing, which I think is good also. So there's more clarity here in the stock right now than has ever been before, which is nice. All right, that's it for the good news stories and everything else that's happening here in the space. Let's take a quick look at the short data that we have here on the miners. I also pulled in some data on, just out of curiosity, as far as where Cleanspark is with Bitcoin mining for this month, along with Mara for their month, because they were kind of close, where at one point Cleanspark was outpacing them. Now it looks like Mara's back up in the front here. We'll take a look at that as well in a second here. Where's my shorted numbers? Here it is. Here's my shorted numbers. So this is updated as of today, but this is data going back that was basically made available just like 2 days ago, or some 2 or 3 days ago. So this is as of 6:31 data. Sorry, I'm getting my dates mixed up. 7:15. Gosh, 7:15. As of 7:15, this is the latest data that we have on these guys here. So current number of shares shorted here. One thing that was kind of weird here, the app that I use, Webull, for some reason changed all of the figures for Hive, being down like 10x from where they were before. I don't know if that was, I don't know what reason that is, so I updated all those. If you guys have better numbers on them, let me know. But for some reason, this was the only one that was changed drastically here. So Hive only has about 1 million shares shorted there. Kango about 1.36. BitDeer 22.7, IREN 31 million, Core 52 million, Cypher 56, Cleanspark 64, Riot 83 million, and Marathon 84 million number of shares being shorted there as of the latest data that we do have here. Percent of average float shorted. Hive is only 0.5%, Kango 2%, IREN 13%, 13.5 roughly, Core 20.25%, Cleanspark 23.69, Marathon 24.49, 25% for Riot, Cypher 25.2, and BitDeer now is taking the lead here at 28.9, almost 29% of the shares being shorted there for some reason. This one has had a huge increase recently in the last couple of weeks that we've been looking at this. Down here we have the share shorted value versus market cap. You can see the market cap of these guys. Marathon 6 billion, market cap 1.5 billion shares shorted. Riot 5.2 billion, right? 1.3 billion shares shorted. Core 5 billion, 1 billion shorted. IREN 4 billion market cap, 550 million. You can see all that up here as well. Number of shares shorted changed from last time. So we had a decrease in Cleanspark 5.6 million, Marathon 5.3 million, IREN 1.5 million, Riot just a little bit, 0.1 million, Hive 0.09 million, and then Kango saw an increase of 0.17 million, Core 0.21, BitDeer 1.8, and Cypher 3.1 million here. So that's kind of interesting here, on those at least. We're seeing some of the bigger guys here, Cleanspark and Marathon having shares maybe getting covered, shorts, a little bit here, and we might see that happening a little bit more as time progresses. I mean, obviously, Marathon has a lot of HODL, so does Cleanspark, but Marathon beats them quite nicely there. Operationally wise, Cleanspark's the better one. IREN obviously has done really well also here recently, and we'll see if they can get an HPCI deal as well. But that's kind of interesting that they are coming down here, where typically Cleanspark and Marathon have been historically, in the last, I would say, 6 months, the most highly shorted out of the bunch here. So that's kind of interesting that those are coming down. On that one, you can see here the percentage from last time, the decrease. Hive saw 8.81% decrease in the percentage of shares shorted. Cleanspark 8%, Marathon 5.9, IREN 4.8, and then BitDeer saw a huge spike, 8.6% increase in them, along with Cypher 5.78. And then we can see the price from 12 weeks ago. IREN has done the best, 174% here. Cypher 106%, Riot 78, Core 60, Cleanspark 41, Marathon 36. BitDeer 30%, Hive 24%, along with Kango at 24%. And here are the miners over the last couple, basically going back to the beginning of the year here. How have their shorts, shares shorted, changed over time here? You can see the BitDeer peaked around 23.8 million and has been coming down slowly from that since April. Kango has been kind of more or less in the same decline area that's been. Cypher, you can see a huge increase here coming for them, right? 33 million just in the middle of May. That's increased tremendously for them. So shorts are getting to them. Cleanspark, however, peaked at 90.71 million shares shorted, and we've been seeing a steady decrease for them as well. Almost, what is that, 30% decrease? Or is that a 50% decrease from the, no, 50 would have been 45 million. So like a 30% decrease in the number of shares being shorted on them since April as well. Core has seen kind of a little bit more of a roller coaster ride, being up to 47.6, coming down to 46.7, and going back up to 52.2. On that one, then we got Hive here. Again, like I said, Hive data seems weird to me that got changed. IREN, still pretty high here, but at least it's coming down here. Their high was last time we reported, which was 32.6 million. Now it's down to 31.05 million. So that's at least looking a little bit better in that direction. And then finally, Marathon here peaked at 96.8 million shares being shorted, and it's been coming down here. We'll see if the recent convertible notes for them, right, that they did this week, if that will have an impact next time we check it, if the shares increase, shares shorted increase for them. I think it might, because they're going to be obviously doing some things there for it. But that is it. That's all I got for you guys here today. So pretty short and sweet and easy. We'll get into Q&A here right now, and then that way you guys can still enjoy your Friday night. I can go outside and have a nice little fire going and enjoy it as well. Hopefully the mosquitoes are not too bad tonight. But that's it. Spreadsheets, as always, are available to my Patreon members, which are the best Patreon members ever. Greatly appreciate your guys' support there, along with YouTube members. I'll get this spreadsheet out to you guys either later on tonight or tomorrow sometime. I'll get it out as well. And I was supposed to get the one from yesterday, which only had Hive updated in there. So we'll include that both together. So there wasn't that much together. And also, Patreon members get access to our Discord server there, which is now fantastic as well. All right, that's my sales pitch. Let's get into Q&A here. So what do you guys have to say on any of this stuff? What are your thoughts on Bitcoin? Where's it going? We have a poll running right now. Where's Bitcoin heading to next? 66% of you guys are saying to 135,000, 250,000, somewhere between there. That's kind of my thoughts as well. Like I said, we might still have a little bit of a dip before we get there, but I think the long run, next couple of weeks, we're going to definitely go up here. All right, let's see. We got financial earnings in the house. Enjoy your evening, sir. Thank you. M2 equals inflate me, daddy. Yeah, definitely is going to be losing some capital there, or at least buying power. Let's see. Turd Ferguson says BTC is going back to 40,000 by February. Wow. Okay. What else we got here? Okay, let's see. Jerome says S&P 500 new highs will follow. Money supply. Yep. All right. OTC's got a question here. Last cycle event, most experienced analysts were expecting 100,000 BTC, but it did not happen. How would miners perform from now on if BTC top is already in? BTC dominance started daily downtrend. Okay, so if this was the top, right, and which I don't think is going to be the top, but let's just say for argument's sake that this is the top and Bitcoin's going to be coming down like we have in the past, 70%, right? So we're going back down to like possibly 35, 40,000 mark, somewhere like that. Well, at this point, the miners would get decimated. As they always do when Bitcoin goes down into a bear market. So that's basically what would happen here. If we trade sideways, the miners will probably trade sideways, probably going down a little bit because of it. As the network hash rate probably increases, they'll go down. And then as far as the BTC dominance started daily downtrend, it's down because you have a rotation, right? You got a lot of companies getting into Ethereum as well. So they're buying up Ethereum. So people are rotating from Bitcoin into Ethereum to try to get as much money. But you're also seeing that some of those treasury companies had a huge spike up. They've corrected tremendously here. And now they're kind of floating in no man's land right now as far as which direction they want to go into. So it'll depend on where Ethereum goes and everything else. So that's kind of my thoughts on it right now. Brett PG says 4-year cycle is alive and well. I would have to disagree with you there. Gary's got a question here. Why do you think Cleanspark stock price has been dropping while shares shorting are coming down in the last 2 weeks on your table? I think it's just because Bitcoin's been going sideways. I think that's the only reason why. I mean, it's had a nice run up here up to that point pretty much, right? In the last 2 weeks, yeah, it has been going kind of down. So it's just impatience by some investors potentially, right? We've seen some here on the stream talking about they've sold some Cleanspark as well and gotten into other things. So I'm not worried about that. All right. Let's see. BJ says the 4-year cycle is definitely not what it once was. I'm not saying it's for sure gone. I think it is, right? The reason, a couple of reasons. We have the ETFs now. We have corporate treasury companies buying up Bitcoin like crazy. We have the United States with bullish, basically, legislation towards Bitcoin and crypto in general. We also have other countries doing it, other companies in other countries buying up Bitcoin as well. We also have just more and more positive things happening here for it. The other thing is we've already seen this cycle, before even the cycle started with, before the halving event, we saw Bitcoin get to a new all-time high, 73,000 before we got to the halving event. We also have seen right now Bitcoin correct 30%, but it's taken it like 4 or 5 months to do so, whereas in the past we had it correct 30% in a couple of days to a week max, and then we were up and running. And we've seen that already twice. We saw that last year from 73,000 down to 40-some thousand. That took about 4 or 5 months for it to correct. Then we went up right to 109,000. And then from 109,000, we corrected down to 70-some thousand, another 30% correction roughly. And that took another 4 months for it to happen there. So all those things combined is leading me to believe that this is going to be an extended cycle, and it's not going to be the same. You got just too much money going into it, too many institution players that are going to be holding on to Bitcoin. They're not looking to sell. I mean, look at Strategy. When do you think they're going to sell Bitcoin? They got 600 some odd thousand Bitcoin right now. They're probably trying to get to 1 million Bitcoin. They're not selling. As long as Michael Saylor is alive there, I don't think they're going to be selling anytime soon. All right, B-side. I was listening to the mining pod, and they said Kango reached 50 PE without anyone noticing, and I'm not mistaken. They told me they come from the automotive industry. Kango was it wasn't from the automotive industry where they were manufacturing automotives. It was more from them buying or providing services for people to buy Chinese companies outside of China, something like that. So that's kind of where they came from as far as the 50 PE. I would have to look into that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that based on what they're, maybe are they going back on the old revenues from the prior business as well? You got to look forward a little bit. I don't know what the future PE would be on that. Neville says, I agree with Brett PG. The belief that the 4-year cycle is dead will leave people holding the bag. The only people that are going to be holding the bag are the institutions. At least I think. I could be wrong. Let's see. BC says 50 exahash. Okay, so not 50p, but 50 exahash. Yes, they purchased the rest of the miners to get to 50 exahash. Was it this month? I think it was this month. Or late last month, so this month it should be at 50 exahash already, as it is, yeah. All right. Which miners have most institutional holdings? We talked about that probably like 2 weeks ago, but I do have it here. Institutions. The one that has the most here, let me see here. Shares added, shares, probably look at shares held, shares added. Let me see here. Where is it at? I don't know if I have the number of shares. I do have it here. Hold on. This is a change from 6 months ago. Institutions. I probably should just pull that data in. Well, let's just kind of go through it here really quick. We can do that relatively quickly. We got some time. All right. This is as of the beginning of July for all these guys here. So let's take a look at this. BitDeer. Right now is showing me that they have about 37 million shares owned by institutions. Cango, we only have one data point, 30 million for them. Cypher has 266 million shares owned by institutions, 79% there of it owned by institutions. Cleanspark is at 184 million, so that's 66%. CORZ Scientific is going to be high as well. 257 million, 86% owned by institutions. Hive is going to be low, I think, from what I remember. Yeah, 40 million, 23%. IREN is going to be high as well. IREN's at 137 million, 66%. Mara is at 222 million, so 64%. Riot is at 219, 62%. And so that's basically all the ones that I have here. So a lot of these guys are pretty highly owned by institutions already. Institutions have been buying like crazy, whereas retail has been selling out of these guys because they've, lost their, one, they lost the value in it, and also lost their patience here a little bit, I think. Let's go to questions. What else here? All right, Brett says, it's hilarious. People are saying 4-year cycle is dead. BTC goes up due to the having reward slashing, nothing else. Well, it goes up to adoption. We're getting to that adoption curve where that adoption curve is starting to go parabolic on us, right? Never before have we seen so many companies announce that they're going to be buying, so many companies that are adding to it as well. These guys are not going to be, looking to trade this quickly. Sure, eventually at some point, if they're up, 100%, 200%, whatever it might be, and they're in dire trouble because of whatever business reasons they've are failing, then at that point, some of these guys might be selling. But for the time being, they're going to use that. And also, if you can use that to get loans on and things like that as collateral and things like that, they're going to hold on to it. All right, Victor, let's see your question. SBET hiring CEO from BlackRock, how will that help? Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. I'd have to look into it some more, but I saw that being posted as well. BlackRock is a behemoth there, right? I don't know what the person did in BlackRock before being hired on as a CEO for them, so that'll be interesting. But I mean, he's got obviously a lot of connections there. That could be only one thing but good, as long as he does a good job. All right, what is your price target of IREN, Cleanspark, and Bitfarms? Again, for me right now, if Bitcoin can get at least to like 200,000, I would expect these guys at the very bare minimum would be to do a 2x from where they are right now. That's like the bare minimum, right? They could definitely do a lot better, but that's kind of my worst case, bear case scenario of what they could possibly do. That's kind of where I'd be looking at. So IREN possibly around $30-something. Cleanspark probably around $26, something like that, close to $30. Bitfarms, they would be at least probably $2.5, $3 at the bare minimum, I would think. Brett says every cycle since 2013, I've heard the same thing. Me too. I have heard the same thing, but we've also never had this kind of adoption. We've always had something that knocked us down, right? Every cycle has been something, and it's always been something just crazy at some points. I don't think that's going to happen this time around. I think you got the big guys in it for the long term. They're in it to win it. They're not going to, look, they got a reputation to maintain, right? So if they tell their high net worth investors to put money into Bitcoin, 5, 10%, whatever it might be, or even 1%, they do not want to, they don't want to have basically crap on their face, right? For telling them to do that, and then Bitcoin goes down 70%. That's not going to look good on them. They're not going to do that. Let's see here. Andy Coop says, I want the purple crown. You got to post a lot more comments. Let's see. All right. Beside question, how is Bitfarms going to buy back shares if they can't even afford to do it? Are they going to dilute to buy back the shares that Riot is selling? How does this work? They have the optionality to buy back shares, right? They can buy up to 46 million shares back through this year. So basically from now till same period, basically next year. Will they do that? We don't know, right? They could sell some Bitcoin to do it. They could also possibly keep their expenses low, and as long as they're cash flow positive from their operations, they could possibly do it. They do have a loan for like $300 million. They're using $50 million of it right now to go towards their HPCI ambitions. It's going to be tough. I'm not saying they're going to buy back all the shares. They could buy back some, but I agree with you. It's going to be tough for them to buy it. The only thing that can really save them is Bitcoin going up to 150,000, 200,000, and at that point, they should be a lot more profitable enough to where they can possibly buy back the shares as well. So that's one way it can be done. All right. Let's see. And Neville says only the best get the purple crown for being number one. It's all based on comments. I figured that out. All right. RockJabs52 question: did you notice Riot and Bitfarms stocks are showing considerable strength? Are institutions buying? Last time, let me see here. I have that info as well. I tracked that as far as what the difference is in institutions buying from 6 months and a month ago. Let's take a look at it here. Let's see here. Shares added percent, shares added from 1 month ago. Okay. So here's the data from the beginning of July, from the prior June, beginning of June. So we can see that, let me see here. Hive, institutions bought in 650,000, and for Riot, they bought in 840,000. So not a huge increase here. Kango, don't go by that because Kango is the first time that I had data for them, so that's why that number looks large, but it shouldn't be that large. All right, so don't go off of that. But we've seen some buying here. Let me see if this is price difference. Percentage owned by institutions, 6 months from 6 months ago. We saw an increase in Riot, 19%. Hive is actually down 6% from 6 months ago, it looks like. Right, yeah. So it doesn't look like it, at least going far enough back. It doesn't look like institutions have been buying into Bitcoin or into Hive. They have been buying into Riot. Or did you say Bitfarms here? Hold on. Was it Bitfarms that you were looking at? Or where were we at? Bitfarms. Sorry, for some reason I thought Hive. Going back here to the screen. Bitfarms. I don't have Bitfarms data anymore because we're not tracking them because they didn't provide their monthly updates here. But from what I remember last time we did it, I believe the number of institutions were increasing in Bitfarms as well. But that was probably for data that we had at the end of June here, I think. Was the last time we had data for them. So I don't know where it was the year or the month-to-month difference on it. Okay, I'm going back here. See, Neville says, I can't wait to hear how much Riot got left to sell in Bitfarms. I think they're going to report 6% next. What say you? Well, they're at 9-point-something% now. I think they'll probably report there maybe 8, somewhere around there, 8.5, something like that, in maybe a week or so, or maybe next week. All right, Victor, she's got a question here. Ethereum treasury companies that have cooled off quite a bit, when do you think they will start moving up? That I would have to look at what their MNAV is on how much Ethereum they hold. What is their market cap to it as well? Are they, just overpriced on it, right? Like I said before, even with Bitcoin, I think some of the treasury companies there should be at max. At the very max, it should be like a 2 MNAV, a 2x MNAV, right? Ideally, they should be probably like 1.2, 1.25, maybe 1.3. Unless you really think that Bitcoin's going to do a 2x, then I could see them being valued at 2x for a short period of time as Bitcoin gets up to those values. So I need to see where they are. I would have to run the data on it, and maybe I'll do that this weekend if I've got nothing better to do. But we can discuss it on either Sunday or like Monday or something like that. So I'll see. See, BJ says, if the 4-year cycle was still the same as it used to be, we wouldn't have reached a new all-time high right before the halving this time. Well, that's one of the things that I keep saying, right? That, and we're also seeing an extended time frames where we correct 30% on Bitcoin. It's just everything's being extended out right now. Let's see, Brett is definitely a bear on Bitcoin cycle here. That was just the ETF demand, he says, nothing significant. Let's see. What else we got here? All right. BG says, fair enough. Agree to disagree. Hope we all make that money. Absolutely, right? I just don't see us going into another bear cycle where we're down 70-80% Bitcoin. That's just me, though. Neville says 300,000 by the end of the year. That's higher than what I would expect. I keep saying that we might be 150,000, 200,000 by the end of the year, and then next year we'll get to like 300,000 plus. But we'll see. I'd love to get to 300,000, but I think it might be a little too fast on an upside for it. Chuck, question. Besides a rate cut, are there any other upcoming big events or announcements this year that might move BTC? M2 money supply, that's moving up. That's going to move Bitcoin as well. We have positive regulations. We have more companies buying it. That's all going to move it up. We have more adoption, everything else. That's all going to move it up. You don't need, it helps, but we don't need it. Right? We've had the rates being pretty high, and Bitcoin has gotten to new all-time highs without rate cuts. So, what else here? Okay, Ben's got a question here. If you could buy one miner with most upside potential, which one would you buy? Thanks. That's always a tough question. One miner with the most upside potential, but is it based on Bitcoin mining or also including AI HPC potential? Right, that's the hard part, because one of these guys could get a great deal with a hyperscaler or with an enterprise customer or something like that, and it's off to the races for it. So it's really always dependent on what kind of news we get from them. If it was all based on just Bitcoin, I would say it's probably between Cleanspark and IREN at this point. But if you include HPC AI potential, IREN could take the front lead there, or Cypher even if they get a deal. So that's always tough on that one. And then you also have ones that are like way undervalued. Bitfarms, Hive right now as well. Those, again, like I keep saying there, Bitfarms has corrected it where they now have operations in the United States more so than anywhere else. But Hive still has operations outside of the United States. I think maybe that might be a little detriment to them. Maybe. We'll see if they get the love from investors. We'll see. What else we got here? Neville, couldn't institutions sell their BTC if they feel like things are going bad? Why do we assume that they'll always butt and hold? Why do we assume that they're going to hold on to it? I mean, I guess the whole economy would have to be going bad right at that point. But there's always going to be, at least the theory is, that there might be a stopgap on Bitcoin going down no less than what Sailor has for its average price, right? Which is right now $70-some thousand, something like that. And there's always what ifs, right? What if somebody throws a atomic bomb at somebody else? What if this? What if that? What if we get another pandemic or a zombie apocalypse, or we get a great flood or something like that? There's always going to be things that are beyond our control that we can't control. We can only see what we can see and try to work our best ways that way. Let's see. Turf Ferguson says Bitcoin miners are not very profitable and will be done for next halving. Get out if you have any brains. Again, but if we have an extended cycle, Bitcoin continues to go up much higher. They could be profitable for much longer and have much better outlooks going forward. Yes, the halving event is going to also kick them in the butt because the revenue is going to get cut in half on that point. So that's always going to be tough. But if they get to newer machines that are twice as effective or twice as efficient as the ones they currently have, they could also again escape that part of it. So there's ways to do it. Let's see. What else? Brett says, no sub to what? All right. We said, what do you think about the latest Mara BTC 1 billion dilution? Was it dilution? Well, dilution is going to be pushed off until 2032. That'll happen down that way. So it's dilution in the future. Or they could push it off even more by getting you convertible notes that get pushed back down even further. They're going to use it for Bitcoin, to buy Bitcoin to pay off some of the debt that they have for 2016. What else are they going to do with it? Corporate purposes, but they're going to probably just buy more Bitcoin, I'm guessing. Let's see. I'm trying to find another question here. Okay, BJ, that's like saying half the distance to the goal penalty is just as significant on the 1 yard line as on the 5 yard line. Eventually doesn't have as much impact as it once did. So you're talking about the halving events, right? Where we're going from 50 BTC down to 25, down to 12.5, down to 6, 1.25, down to 3.125. And then after that's going to be, what is it going to be? 1.6 something Bitcoin, right? The number of Bitcoin gets halved, yeah. Okay. BG says adoption means way more than the halving now. It definitely means more good things for adoption. All right. Sean's got a question here. Do you think Bitfarms will pump once Riot announces they sold all their shares? I think it will help the stock. I don't know if it's going to pump enough, if it's going to pump hard or not, but I think it will help the stock there because then investors know that Riot is off their backs. There's no concerns of a potential hostile takeover. It does look a little bit better. All right. Gary says 4-year cycles used to be based on supply and demand. Miners would produce, no longer a miner issue as they don't mine enough to affect things mining only 450. Yeah, that's another good point, right? I mean, we're seeing just so much being bought up, way more than the miners can produce, just so much more demand for it. Sadie, as always, thank you so much for the likes there. All right, what else I have? Okay. OT says, I have most and least shorted miners in my portfolio. It makes no difference. All platform poorly. Should have stayed with BTC. That's probably the easiest way to go, right? Is go with BTC. Okay. B-Side says, Ben Gagnon sold their South American operation for free to Hive. How Hive is going to profit from such dumb government? These people can do as they please. That's one of the things that I've said is the concern with the government there, right? There's some risk there. That's maybe why the stock might have a harder time going up, maybe. All right. Okay, you guys are still talking about the 4-year cycles there, going back and forth. All right, B says got a question here. Ben Kenyon sold. Okay, talked about that one already. What else? Trying to find other questions. Now says there are 60 people watching. There should be 62 likes in the video. I appreciate that. All right. B said, what is your top number 3 on Bitcoin miners? My top number 3. I still have Cleanspark, IREN. I still own a bunch of Bitfarms, not as much as I used to. I think that one might surprise us, only if they get an HPCI deal. But as far as miners are concerned, I think IREN, Cleanspark are the top there. Who else? Cypher is growing nicely. Hive is also growing nicely. Mara, I mean, their operations are kind of iffy right now as it is, and Riot's not growing much. So top 3, I would say IREN, Cleanspark, and for Bitcoin mining, gosh, I don't know. Hive has potential there. I don't know. Hard to say. Noah says, come on, guys. Let's make giving Seb a like a habit. Appreciate that, Noah. Appreciate it very much. Let's see. Question. I still haven't seen your AI chart unless I'm mistaken. AI chart. That's still a work in progress. It's just been busy, and I'm concentrating on the things that I can right now, and there's been a lot of stuff happening here. But eventually we will get into more AI as well. All right, Victor, question, is it possible Fed will cut rates next week? I think the consensus is that it won't, based on what I saw posted here today. So I don't think that's going to happen. It'd be a nice surprise, though. All right, Sean's got a question here. Do you think Mara stock will go up next week after their earnings? Wouldn't it go up before the earnings? I mean, you kind of know what they already made as far as revenues, right? I have it. Anthony Bryce have that information. Other people have the information. I mean, you already know what they're going to be generating. You already know what their potential upside for the FSB on their HODL is going to be as well. So you can kind of figure things out as far as where they're going to be. The stock should have been running up already as it is, I think. It's not like a guessing game with some of these other companies where you don't have the data, you don't know what's going on there, you're guessing, right? And they could surprise, I mean, more or less, smart investors at least should know what they're going to be getting here with the miners at least. All right, B-side, would you sell your house to go all in with your favorite miners? You probably had a bad experience with Bitfarms. Well, Bitfarms didn't have a bad experience. It was definitely a learning experience, but it wasn't a bad experience. I sold 2/3 of it. It's still in the positive in the green. The 1/3 that I have now is a little bit in the red, but it's getting better. Would I sell my house to go in? No. No, right? This stuff that I do here is everything outside of what I need to survive, basically. So if anything happens here with the capital that I have in here, I'm still going to be fine. My kids are not going to see any difference in the way that we live. All this money is basically outside of the purview anyways. They don't know that we have this. So, right, it doesn't change anything there. But yeah, I wouldn't sell a house to buy miners. All right. Hey, Sip, thoughts on Hut 8. Do you see yourself buying? Heard they're pivoting to energy HPC. Yes, they are doing that. They've been talking about that probably for the past year, right? They're offloading their Bitcoin mining to America BTC, which is going with the merger with Griffin there. They're still going to own 80% of it there, so they're going to be getting some of the benefits there without some of the drawbacks of having to report all of the costs and expenses that go along with it. And yes, they're going to HPCI, power, and things like that. I don't know. We have a lot of companies here that are doing this, trying to do the same thing. IREN, Cypher, Hut 8, Hive, Cypher, who else? Riot, right? They're all going for the same type of deal here. Which one can get some good deals there? Hut 8 has Anthony Pompliano supporting them. They got also the Trump boys in there as well. Could they have some connections that maybe give them a little bit of an edge? Maybe. I don't know. But it's definitely interesting to see that they're going in this direction more so. We'll see how they do. All right. Gary's question. Only one Bitcoin miner profitable mining since having IREN. They aren't profitable. So if that doesn't change, extended cycle doesn't matter. Most companies losing money mining each quarter. Again, cash flow positive. A lot of these guys can be cash flow positive. It's just when you include depreciation, which is for tax reasons. You include that in there, and stock-based compensation, right? They become unprofitable at that point. All right. Let's see. Fire Freak says on 7/23, Riot reported that they are down to. Did they? Did I miss that? Let me see here. I thought they were at 9 point something. Let me see here. Did I miss that? Riot platforms press releases. Was it press release or was it actually? I have July 16th here. This is what I'm looking at. Maybe I should have looked at the SEC filings for them. But here's what I got. July 16th is when they reported 9.85. And we covered it at that point. Was it down to 9.85? I think so, yeah. Equivalent. Trying to find any percentages. Yeah, this was 9.85 on July 16th. Let's take a look at the SEC. SEC. Right. Oh, I hate that. Keep forgetting that. I gotta wait for it to load. Right. There we go. July 20th schedule. It's filed. Oh, acquisition benefit more than 1%. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we do have a little bit of breaking news here. Thanks for putting this up. So Riot is down to 8.3. Okay. So next week they might be down to something. Maybe down to 6% or something. Yeah, they've been definitely pulling on that trigger for selling this stock there. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that with us. I thought they would have provided a press release on it. I guess not. They just filed it with the SEC there. Okay, so that's interesting. So down to 8.3, so that's good. That is good news. Okay, so we might be actually having Riot be out of Bitfarms by the end of August here if they continue the way that they're going, which would be great. Neville lost his crown. Neville, you got to post more, buddy. Let's see. B-side, would you sell your house for Stargate project? For a Stargate project? No. My house is not worth anywhere near that. I might be able to finance or at least fund amount as much as that stuff costs. I could probably fund, what would that be? Based on my house value right now, 1/20th of a megabyte or a megawatt part of it. I think that's probably what I could probably fund with my house value. KBW says Mara is garbage, shorted here for easy money. Their operations have not been great here this past 2 months. Not sure what the heck's going on there. I know that they had some problems with the storm from last month that they talked about, but it seems like it's having an impact here even more so now. So we shall talk about it, obviously, probably not next week, but the following week when they report their operations for July. All right, but that is it. We'll call it a day here, everyone. Greatly appreciate you guys coming in. We're going on for what? Close to an hour as it is. So I'm going to go enjoy. Have a nice fire going outside. Have an adult beverage. I hope you guys do too. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for coming in as always. Love you all. Stay safe out there. Have fun over the weekend. We'll get back in the swing on things on Sunday. And we'll see where things go next week. Hopefully they go up. We'll see. I'll see you guys then. Have a great night. Bye.